Welcome back to Madman Review. Today we're tackling a hot topic that's sending shockwaves across the country. A groundbreaking court decision recently granted Second Amendment rights to an illegal immigrant. This sparks intense debate and concern. This dumb rule asserts that even those in the U.S. illegally can bear arms, and to many people, this sets a precedent that could dramatically reshape America's legal system as far as the Second Amendment. In this video, we're going deep into the heart of this issue. We'll dissect the retarded judge's decision, examine its broad implications, and discuss what it means for us as Americans and the very fabric of our Constitution. We're also going to talk about the potential consequences of extending the constitutional rights to illegal aliens and conclude with some hard-hitting questions. Stay tuned. This is one really urgent discussion you don't want to miss. The retarded court decision. Alright, let's kick things off with a deeper look at the case that's stirring up all this controversy. One night in June 2020, during some of the worst violence Chicago had seen in years, prosecutors claimed a guy who wasn't legally in the U.S. stood by a street corner and shot at a passing car a total of 7 times. No one knows where all the bullets ended up. About an hour later, though, the gunman, Herberto Carbajal Flores, aimed his gun at another car. That time, when he pulled the trigger, the gun jammed, according to federal authorities. He was arrested by the police and initially faced several state charges, including aggravated discharge of a firearm. His lawyers argue that he was just firing warning shots to protect the neighborhood and that he didn't actually shoot the second time. Soon, all those charges were swapped for a single federal charge for having a semi-automatic pistol, which he wasn't allowed to purchase in the first place because of his immigration status. This charge came down during the 2020 crackdown called Operation Legend, ordered by then-President Donald Trump. What they didn't see coming was a major shift in how courts would handle gun laws. That federal charge loomed over Carbajal Flores until March of this year. That's when U.S. District Judge Sharon Johnson Coleman made the retarded decision in this case. Now, just to throw this out there, this leftist judge was appointed by the most divisive American president in history, Barack Obama. Judge Coleman argued that denying Flores the Second Amendment right solely based on his immigration status wasn't warranted because his criminal record showed no misuse of firearms. This pathetic excuse for a judge has an equally pathetic two-way stance. That's the fundamental right to bear arms should apply broadly, extending even to illegal aliens if they pose no demonstrated threat to public safety. This decision sparked a torrent of reactions across various sectors of society. America, as usual, is deeply divided. Conservative circles and our pro-2A friends are up in arms, and it's understandable. This ruling is not just questionable, it sets a dangerous precedent that blurs the lines of legal citizenship and constitutional rights. I mean, you have to agree, such a decision undermines our security as Americans, and it also dilutes the Constitution. It probably wouldn't be an issue if we had no illegal aliens here, but Brandon has been on the roll allowing illegal immigrants into the country left and right since he became POTUS. On the other hand, leftist libturd groups applaud the judge's decision. These are self-hating Americans, and they see it as a humane approach to gun rights that recognizes the basic rights of all individuals, regardless of their immigration status or even their citizenship. They argue that upholding the Second Amendment in this case is a step toward fair treatment of these illegal aliens, all in the name of inclusivity and diversity. Bunch of retards, if you ask me. Social media platforms and community forums are buzzing with debates and discussions. Advocacy groups are holding rallies and forums to voice their opinions, and think tanks are hosting panels to dissect the implications of the ruling. This decision has clearly touched a nerve and revealed deep-seated divisions in how we all perceive the intersection of immigration and constitutional rights. So, all this sets the stage for our discussion. A stupid anti-American court decision, a nation divided, though in retrospect it has always been divided, and a legal and ethical debate that could reshape how our 2A rights are being twisted by the left, all in an attempt to pander to the retarded pro-diversity crowd for clout. The left twisting the Constitution and disregarding Americans. Now let's shift to some heavy lifting with a look at how the Supreme Court has previously handled questions similar to this one. Specifically, let's look at D.C. v. Heller, which clarified who falls under the umbrella of the people mentioned in the Constitution. The Supreme Court ruled that the people refers to those who are part of the political community, generally recognized as citizens or those lawfully residing in the country. This interpretation plays a crucial role in determining who is entitled to the rights enshrined in the Constitution, including the Second Amendment. This leads us directly into the fiery debate over whether these constitutional rights should extend to non-citizens, specifically illegal immigrants. The dumb supporters of extending these rights argue that fundamental human rights and ethical considerations should not recognize borders. They believe that everyone, regardless of legal status, possesses inherent rights that laws should protect. Yeah, right. This leftist perspective sees the extension of Second Amendment rights to non-citizens as a step toward a more inclusive and diverse anti-American society. Personally, I think extending constitutional rights to illegal immigrants undermines the rule of law and will only serve to incentivize illegal immigration. It's like Brandon's telling these people illegally crossing the Mexican border, hey, our godforsaken country allows you to own more guns than your godforsaken country. It's supposed to be a no-brainer that the American Constitution applies only to Americans, specifically American citizens. From this viewpoint, allowing non-citizens these rights will only erode the line between citizen and non-citizen. This makes illegal aliens even more of a national security threat than they already are. It also threatens our legal frameworks. This debate doesn't just exist in a vacuum, it hits directly at the heart of what it means to be American. This ruling in favor of extending 2A rights to illegal immigrants like Flores disregards our national identity as Americans. It just makes you raise your eyebrows about who we are as people and what we represent as Americans. Some libturds argue that it's an expansion of America's foundational promise of liberty and justice for all. On the other, it totally disrespects whatever these days define us as Americans. Ideological versus physical borders. In my opinion, there are two types of borders that define a country. Physical, obviously, and ideological. If you haven't been paying attention, the left has been trying to destroy both. Physical borders are the literal lines on a map that mark where one nation ends and another begins. They're guarded, monitored, and recognized internationally. Ideological borders, however, are the shared values, principles, and laws that bind a country together within those physical boundaries. These borders are just as important, if not more, because they shape the collective national identity and dictate how a country functions. But the leftoids have been seriously eroding these borders, especially the ideological ones, because they hate themselves so much. And what are the consequences? When the line between citizens and non-citizens are blurred, it can lead to significant changes in how rights and privileges are distributed. Extending constitutional rights to non-citizens, as seen in this recent anti-American court decision, destroys national boundaries. This creates confusion, especially among sheeple who have no idea what's going on over who is entitled to what rights. Leads to a system where the distinction between us Americans and illegal aliens becomes superficial at best and non-existent at worst. Looking back historically, ideological borders have played a critical role in shaping our national policies. During the Cold War, for example, ideological borders between the capitalist West and communist East defined not just national policies but global alliances. These borders were about more than geography. They represented deeply held beliefs about governance and society. Here in America, the ideological borders have defined periods of major social change, such as during the Civil Rights Movement, when expanded notions of equality pushed the country to redefine who could claim the American identity and its associated rights. Today, as ideological borders face attacks from Soros and ESG financiers like BlackRock, Vanguard, etc., we're all grappling with how to maintain our identity while trying to figure out what the hell's happening. We're seeing our nation being destroyed from the inside out, and it's unfolding right in front of our very eyes. The extension of 2A rights to non-citizens is the tip of the iceberg, yet it tests the flexibility and resilience of ideological borders and forces us to consider what it means to be a citizen of this country. Impact of extending rights to non-citizens. If you think we're just ranting, let's talk about the potential impacts of this retarded anti-American ruling to extend our 2A rights to illegal immigrants. First up, let's talk about the potential precedents this kind of ruling could set. This will open up the door for other constitutional rights to be claimed by illegal immigrants under similar more and more circumstances. Future legal cases will also reference this decision to argue for the extension of rights such as voting or freedom of speech to non-citizens. It will render our Constitution moot, and ultimately it will render our country moot. What about the implications to our society as Americans? The extension of rights to non-citizens will affect social cohesion and public safety. I mean, just look at what's going on right now in Europe. Crimes are being committed by immigrants left and right, and the police can't arrest them. Heck, you don't even have to look too far. Just talk to a New York cop about the crime problems being caused by immigrants there. Legal experts have varied opinions on the long-term implications of extending constitutional rights to non-citizens. Self-hating anti-American leftist lawyers argue that we need this kind of quote-unquote evolution of the law in this new world order where traditional notions of nationality are outdated. These idiots believe that adapting our legal frameworks to more inclusive can strengthen democracy and uphold America's founding principles. Like, seriously? National sovereignty and legal frameworks. Our sovereignty and how our laws and governance work as a system plays a pivotal role in defining our country. Sovereignty is the supreme power a nation has to govern itself or another state. It's the foundational principle that allows a country to enforce laws, manage resources, and control its borders. Laws and governance structures form the backbone of a country, ensuring stability, order, and predictability for its citizens. Focusing on immigration law and national security, these laws are critical as they help maintain a country's integrity and safety. Immigration controls allow a nation to determine who can enter and stay within its borders, which is essential for managing population, resources, and ensuring security. Effective immigration policies and enforcement protect against threats, prevent unauthorized entry, and contribute to overall public order by establishing clear rules and consequences for violations. On the leftist side, the ethical considerations regarding the rights of all individuals within a country's borders are the be-all and end-all. One key talking point they often use is how we should balance our sovereignty with the rights of illegal immigrants and non-citizens within our borders. They always spew out BS about human rights, dignity, and the ethical treatment of all people regardless of their citizenship status. These virtuous bleeding hearts push themselves to unconditionally accept immigrants, all while ignoring the legal frameworks that provide structure and rules necessary to maintain societal order. Just begs the question, when will this all end? And that's all we have for you in this video. If all this made you scratch your head and you like scratching your head, consider clicking on the like button and sharing this video with your friends, just so they're aware at least. Please help the channel grow by subscribing. Thanks for watching, and God bless America.